Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today is what I call a twofer day. I'm going to show you how to make 2 cards super quick and easy using the Merriest trees. Now the Merriest trees is a Christmas stamp set that carried over from last year's holiday catalog and is now in our annual catalog. I love this one. Actually, it's kind of one of my favorites this holiday season, even though there's always one of those that gets put aside and then I see it the next year. So this is really cute. It has so many different die cuts in here to die cut the images that are in the stamp set, and also it has a great tag in there as well. You can actually cut out these individual layers of the pines on this pine tree, or you can die cut them with DSP and layer them in different, it's really, you can see these different sizes, or you can make a small tree, a medium tree, and a large tree. We're gonna be using the large tree. So let me show you what we're gonna do. So as you can see, we have this one and we have this one. This tree came from here. So let me show you what I did. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna be using the dotted circles embossing folder. I love this one. Oh, there we go. Spotlight on the dotted circles. So I'm going to set that aside so it's not glaring there. But the first thing I did was I took a piece of green, garden green, and I die cut out the largest tree from the Merriest Trees die set. Ran it through my Stampin' and Cut and Emboss machine and ended up with my die cut, right? Well, I stuck it back in there. And what I'm going to do is now put it into the embossing folder. Now, the thing about this embossing folder that I want to show you, by the way, if you look in the catalog, you will see, I think it's with the decorative trees, another really amazing one. I want to do a video on that one too. There's a card that used this with the tree and it looks so cool. So I did this, and you see how you can, it almost looks like those are ornaments and garland on the tree. So what I did to achieve that is I put this back in here. Now this one is a little different. I'm going to emboss the outside of this one. If you look at this tree, it's plain here, but I want to see what it looks like with it being embossed. So what I did was put this back in here, and with this Stampin' Up logo on your top, you want to place it. First of all, if you kind of lay it in here this way so that you actually have it flat, think of it this way. You don't want any of your ornaments going this way, so you want to pull this down until you don't see that circle in the middle. And then whenever you get, it's almost to the edge, almost to that edge, and you'll see then all of these circles kind of make a garland type. And it's okay if you get one up here because you're going to put a star there. So go right where you see these last, right where you see these last little half circles, bring your paper to there. That way it's going to emboss the entire thing, and it's going to make sense that the garland and ornaments are hanging in the proper way. So then you end up with this, which I thought was cool because we're going to put the strips in here, and this actually gives it kind of like the shining halo effect on this one. And then this card, super simple. We're just going to take some of the Take a Bow paper. I love this paper. And we are going to put that on a real red. Now this real red started out, I'm just going to put this here. This real red started out as an 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. So I had equal halves, 2 1/8, 4 1/4. And then I'm putting the circles, little dots, with those wonderful traditional red and green. You've got garden green, granny apple, and red. So I love that. Okay, a simple inside here that we're going to do. Now let's just take a chance and get it adhered in here, and then we'll do our stamping. So we'll get a nice 1/8 inch border. I always like kind of turn my card this way, and then that gives me a better perspective, because it usually seems to have a little more space on here just because we're not a machine. And that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then we are going to pull out some stamping here. And I just wanted something that was small enough to see when the tree is sitting here. And that was the love and joy that is in that stamp set, Merriest Trees. So what I did is I stamped that at the top. And then just to keep one ink pad open here, I just went ahead and put to you and yours right down there at the bottom. And then all you have to do is put some adhesive right in the middle part of the folded part, because you're going to put, if you put that tree right at the tip of the top of the tree at the fold, it kind of is right in the middle. And then oh, you know what? I thought it was going over a little bit more, so I guess I have a little bit of glue there. But you know what? You don't know that unless I told you. So I just put then the heart that comes in the set. Now I have to tell you, I'm cheating a little bit because I have a little star punch, which I'm sure you all have. And I just put that on the top there. And I did use my star punch instead of, and there we go. Okay, there's your easy, simple card done. I think maybe I may add on the little trunk. There's a sweet trunk that is so cool because it's cut exactly to fit in that groove of that die. So I think whenever I go to take the pictures of this, I'm gonna put that in here too. And I think that I can manage that. Okay, so you've got your simple card there. I might add a couple gold embellishments too. So stop back, look at my blog. Underneath the YouTube description, you'll see visit my blog here. If you press that link, it takes you right over to cindyleeBdesigns.com. I have additional photos. I have links to my online store, which are also under the YouTube description. So simple card number 1. And then we are going to do this one. Now, the way I did this one is, of course, is using the negative here. And another way, I used the dotted circles embossing folder, but you could use any embossing folder you want here. You could do a snowflake one, green snowflakes, I don't know about that. But you could also just do you could actually do that, and you could do the stamp in here. That would be a simple card, but I wanted to put the strips in there. I thought that would be really cool to do. Now let me show you how we can do that. And guess what? Whenever I cut out all these strips, I had I think I don't have any glue right where it needs to be, so we'll fix that. I had these strips left over because it's only 5, you're only 5 1/4 in the length, and then the width is 1 7/8 because it fits into 2 1/8. So I had all these 3/4 inch strips, and this paper, which is super pretty, like I said, it's that traditional paper of that traditional paper with the reds and greens in it. I had a whole bunch of those 3/4 inch strips left over from this card and another card I was doing. So I'm going to show you how to just use 3 strips. Okay, as you'll notice, this is really only 2 patterns, right? This is a pattern and this is a pattern. So you really only need 2 because you get 4 sides, right? So go ahead and do 3 of them, okay? And what we're gonna do is simple cutting here, okay? I figured it out for you, okay? You need to make this tree, in my opinion. You could use, if you're using the scraps you already have on hand, you can just play around with them and cut them and snip them to size. But if you were making this card, mass producing it, and just wanted to get all the strips cut, this is the way I would do it. Now, this is 1 inch because this is left over, but I wanted enough room to write. You're going to need 2 3 1/2s, 1 3, and then 2 2s, and then you're gonna have a 1.5 here. So I'm gonna show you how to do this, okay? And that you need 6 of the 3/4 going up. And I think this one was a little bigger because when I originally made this, those were the scraps on the table. So let's just assume you're mass producing and assuming that you have 3/4 inch strips, okay? You want 2 3.5s because that's going to give you room to play around with that bottom layer of your tree. So I'm going to put that in my little trimmer here so you can see it. And what I did is I just marked it 3.5. Now, this doesn't have to be that precise because we have wiggle room, okay? So we've got our 2 3.5s, okay? Then we need a 3-inch one, a 3-inch, okay? We need a 3-inch, okay? And then we need 2 2-inch ones, okay? So 2 inches, I'm gonna take the leftover from the 3, I'm gonna do 2 2-inch ones, okay? And then I'm gonna take one of these at 1.5, okay? And that's 1.5. So all I used, and I actually have more than I actually need, okay? But if you do it that way, you get all the pieces you need, okay? You need 2 3.5s, 1 3, 2 2s, and then this was 1.5. So you need 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? Super easy. I'll take a picture of this and put it on my blog for you. Then you're just gonna build up your tree. And like I said, you only need 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? But just play around with which design you like the best. I love the dots and then the stripes, and then I'm gonna go with this one. And then I think I want to do, let's do the stripes again. And if you want, you can just layer it the same way. But if you want to get some red in there, or you want to get this one there, and then the stripes here, it doesn't matter. Once you decide what pattern you like, flip it over. And this is where you'll see you can tape it all together. Now, this is when you're mass producing. You want to just do something super quick. So those are your layers, and you can just take some tape and you'll know that you've got, just make sure that even when you flip it over that you don't have any of the same ones right against each other. Okay, so there, and then I have another piece of tape here I'm gonna do, and I'm just layering them kind of like a cake. Okay, there you go. I know once I put it down, the static electricity. Okay, so there is my strip tree. Now, you definitely could just put adhesive on here and just keep putting your strips, like put glue here or adhesive there and just keep laying your strips on. That's easy enough as well. I found this easy to do. Now, I did notice I'm seeing through a tiny bit right here. So I don't know if it's gonna matter here. I'm going to, I just saw a little bit coming through there. I know that's gonna do that, but it'll still be okay. No, this is the bad side, so it has to be, no, look what I did. Okay, how about I use this leftover one? You're gonna end up, okay, you have to make them be different, right? So, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna layer that right up against there. That was just, I couldn't see on that angle. Okay, so this is my little tree. And you can also, if you don't like it perfectly straight, you could layer it this way. But I am going to put the sentiment straight, so I am going to try to do this as close to being straight as I can get it. But you can, like I said, because I use these dimensions 3.5, 3.5, 3, 2, 2, and 1.5. I made it that if I want to have my tree, let me see, show you how this would go. If I wanted to have my tree like on an angle, I certainly could, as long as I've got the whole pieces there, but it does kind of go nicely just doing that way. So what we're gonna do is put some adhesive on the back of the tree. You could do glue, you could do tape runner. No need to really do the anything like tear and tape or anything like that. But I have my little tree made. Once again, remember, 3.5, 3.5, 3, 2, 2, 1.5. And then I'm gonna try to make this. I love the polka dots, so I'm gonna try to get as many polka dots as I can. And I think my eye is looking, oop, I missed it. It's different. I got up on my tippy toes and then I could see that I had did that little piece. Okay. I really like the triangles, but you got to make sure, I like the polka dots. So you want to make sure that you get this edge covered. So I'm going to, there we go. I don't see anything coming out of there. So now I have that to put onto my front of my card. So now I'm gonna put some adhesive again on here. And you see how that, you have 2 runs through your embossing folder and you have 2 fun cards using that embossing folder and using your negative. So this, of course, is a 8.5 by 5, scored at 4 1/4. And then I wanna get a nice 1/8 inch border around the card. There we go. Now, what I did for the sentiment is I cut a piece of 3/4 by 3. And where did I put it? How about I just go grab it? 3 1/4 by 3. Now I'm telling you 3 inches because I'm using one of our tag topper, okay? I mean, one of these, what do they call these? I'm not sure what they call the, you can cut from 1/2 inch to 3/4 up to 1 inch. So if you, whatever your sentiment is, you want to add, I do believe, a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch to it. So I came up with, to fit this sentiment, it needed to be 3 inches. So when I put this in there, I can see that it's right to the edge of the metal on the punch. Then I put it through again and make sure it's straight there. See how it has to reach the edge of the metal. And then that gives me the size that I need to stamp the sentiment for this one. And I do see that I am off just a teeny bit. So if I'm just gonna like go like that a little bit, nobody will ever know except for the people watching the video, right? So I'm gonna use that sentiment, hoping your home is filled with the spirit of the season. And I'm going to use my red. I love that it's photopolymer, so I can pop that right in there. And that is my sentiment for this card. And when I first made the card, I covered up one of the stripes and I'm like, oh, that's great. And I'm like, no, that's not, because it's like you're not getting that color. So I would suggest that you put the sentiment, I'm putting the dimensionals here, make sure you guys can see. I'm gonna kind of put it so that you're still seeing a little bit of each of the papers. So I'm gonna put it right there. And that's my sentiment for the card. And of course I have, you know what I always find when I'm using these stars, I should have done this before I used my glue dots, and then you can just pick them right up off of there and put that star there. There you go. Spirit. Hoping your home is filled with the spirit of the season. And the fun thing about, oh, and then like I said, this is just, I think, really finishes off the card, putting that tree trunk there with that one. I like this one, I definitely do, but I really think the way the dotted circles go around this one really has a nice effect on it. Now, something that doesn't look perfectly straight here, just might be the dimensions of the card. On this one, I put a really fun sentiment. Now I'm going to want to use my piercing mat here because it's a photopolymer when I'm stamping it. I'm going to use this really fun stamp. That's the sentiment is in the shape of a Christmas tree. Really, really like that. So I'm going to ink up my garden green, and I'm just going to put that in the middle. And then I'm going to do a little red star because I've got the red out on the top of my Christmas tree. Isn't that adorable? Now you notice this little tree, the die that is in here. This one fits lovely. This one is just would make it. So that's really cool. So here you go, making, I got something crazy going on over here. I had pause on my TV and it just turned back on. So there you go. 2 simple cards that you can make with just one. Why this is going down. There we go. Sorry about that. Keeps coming back on. Try to get all the electronics to stop at one time. This morning I told my daughter, by the time she called me and I got my AirPod working and my iPad turned off and tried to get, I said, I surely hope you don't ever call me with an emergency, because by the time I actually can talk to you on my phone, you may be in real big trouble. So technology, you gotta love it, but sometimes. So here you go, 2 cards made super quick by just die cutting out a tree, putting it back in, rolling it through your embossing folder, and then having a background here and a tree for here. And like I said, I'm gonna put the little tree trunks there, but those are 2 super quick Christmas cards using that Merriest trees. I do love this one. I just think it is adorable. I haven't, it has dies in it for, where did I just have those dies? It has dies in here for these little ornaments. So you could put a ton of ornaments because there's 9 of them. And like I said, all the layers of the tree, because you have this big tree, this meat. Now picture this on a card, a tree and then that tree, because you know, you figure that's about the size of a card. But say you had 2 of these mediums and you had a small tree, and maybe you had a small tree here and then another small tree here. That is a quick Christmas card just using the dies. And just think if you put them, you die cut them out of here. And I will link to another card where I did use the DSP to make these trees. So if you haven't taken a look at the Merriest trees in the annual catalog, super fun. Also has this little tree, what is that part, the tree stand, the little thing you put underneath your Christmas tree. And you also can stamp the trunk in a wood grain and you can die cut that, or like I said, you can just use the brown. I used a pecan pie. You can also cut out the presents here. So just super awesome set. So I hope you will try it if you have that stamp set, but I hope you'll take a second look at it if you don't. I think it's a really versatile one. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.